Now let's take a look at political developments, and the news is that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition is currently having a media presser. We want to cross over there at Stephen Kalonzo Command Center and listen in.
Proposes to replace the digital service tax with a 30% tax on non-resident digital service providers' taxable profit, calculated as 20% of gross turnover, will significantly increase the tax burden on digital service providers from 1.5% under DST, abbreviation for digital service tax, to an effective rate of 6%. This will deter digital companies from operating in Kenya, which could stunt the sector's expansion. Kenya's efforts to establish a circular economy, to manage its waste and become a regional recycling hub will be further undermined by the recently proposed eco-levy environmental tax, which targets importers and manufacturers of specific products to set up waste management infrastructure. This new tax will duplicate the current levy mandated under Extended Producer Responsibility (EPR) scheme, and will also remove the incentive to increase investments in recycling waste products. Additionally, the eco-levy will be detrimental to mwananchi, as it will increase prices for all plastic packaging materials, batteries, and hygiene products. For instance, the 150 shilling levy per kilogram of plastic packaging will increase the cost of a 400-gram loaf of bread by 9 shillings, from 65 shillings to 74 shillings. Increase 1 liter of cooking oil by 16.81 shillings, from 300 to 316.81. Increase of 1 kilogram of powder detergent by 30 shillings, from 200 to 230. Bread and other necessities will now be subject to a standard rated VAT instead of zero rated VAT, which will directly affect household spending and drive up the already expensive cost of living. As Azimio, we firmly believe that these are serious ramifications for Kenya's economy and standard of living if the bill is passed into law. Should it be put to effect, it will significantly raise production costs, will destroy the industry's ability to compete, resulting in closures and job losses. As a result, our local and export markets will be negatively impacted, retail prices will rise, mwananchi will be burdened, and cash flow requirements will rise during a period when interest rates are rising. Azimio believes that our country's focus should be on helping enterprises and the manufacturing industry to create jobs and wealth, increase productivity, cut living costs, and finally, bring prosperity to Kenyans. We therefore reaffirm our stand that all well-meaning Kenyans must oppose the Finance Bill 2024 and have thus instructed all our parliamentary members to lead from the front in rejecting this punitive bill in its totality. Finally, we salute Kenyans who have used text messaging, phone calls, and social media initiatives, #FindMyMP, to urge their legislators to listen to their constituents and vote no. This peaceful civic assertiveness and engagement will eventually become the norm, especially under our leadership as your government in waiting. Thank you, and may God bless Kenya. End of the statement. I'll ask my colleagues here to add one or two things. While I was away, there was a very interesting political developments. It was one time, wartime Prime Minister of the UK, who said a week in politics is a very long time. And I think somebody had a hashtag, find Kalonzo. I am back and in good spirits. Maybe I can ask Yoni, because I want to also recognize the fact that the spokesperson for former President Uhuru Kenyatta issued a very, very, very clear statement on some of this budgeted corruption. Monies are budgeted for the office of retired president, retired deputy presidents, the vice presidents and premiers, and nothing seems to be happening in those offices. Ask yourselves, where does this money go? So it is now clear, and I think we can also ask my friends here, Eugene and Kioni and Safuna, if you're ready. No? Deritu, you are the author. Or senator, any of the senators, to say something. Maybe I start with Kioni.
Thank you. I think it's clear that what we are saying as Azimio is that we condemn the budget and the finance bill in total, and we actually reject it from this platform, or reject them from where we start, and are asking our members of parliament to hear it, hear the members of the public, listen to what we are telling you. You were elected to represent the people, not to represent the disaster in the name of Ruto. And why do I call him a disaster? He has reduced school feeding program by 2 billion shillings. He has reduced the education budget by 25%. Special education by 35%. The primary education by 20%. We can actually see the return of provincial administration in full swing, to the point where the chiefs are now required to ensure that you have complied with your tax requirements. Back to the dark old days. I think it is important to also note that the special protection, Pesa Wazee, has been reduced by 3 billion shillings. We have 16 days to the end of the financial year, or something like that, and you should be on the lookout for the mother of all times in terms of corruption. The stealing that will happen between now and the end of the financial year, it's something that if it was addressed the last time when you were budgeting and leading the finance bill, the burden that we have already gone through will not have been occasioned on Kenyans. Why? Because there are very many of the votes that have not been exhausted, and they will be doing everything else, including buying of shoes and belts, to ensure that they exhaust that money. His Excellency has mentioned about our former president. And I think what he was saying, in short, what I heard, is that in the last financial year, his office had been allocated something like 600 million shillings. Throughout that period, he had only received 28 million shillings. The balance had also been spent. And alikuwa nauliza, nani alikula? Wakenya waabiwe, na waache kuabiwa kwamba alipatiwa. And why you need a committee to answer such a simple question, it actually helps you to know that mwizi must be part of that committee, or one constituting the committee. And I want to say this, nimalize na kusema, ya kwamba this double speak, wale ambao wako na magari msome vizuri. Dungu jana amesema, if you look at what he led and presented, there is no capping on the motor vehicle tax. In his presentation, there is no capping. Ni ingine tulikuwa tunasukushwa hapa wa Kenya is what was given a cap of 100,000. So you start working on the cost of your vehicle, or the value of your vehicle, and know the corresponding amount of money that you need to pay on an annual basis. I think it is not useful anymore, perhaps to own a car. But I conclude by saying this. Look at the way they abandoned all the improvement on the transport sector, public transport sector. If that had been achieved, many people would choose to use the public transport and avoid buying cars. So you abandon one way and you kill us through the other way. We have a disaster budget, a disaster finance bill, and a disaster regime. For Kenya, let us send these guys home. Let them be a one-term regime. Na wale ambao wanafikiria ya kwamba utakaa kwa hiyo chimo ya ukora na uanze kusanya watu ati wakufuate ukiwa kwa hiyo chimo ya ukora, kwenda ukadanganya watu huko kwa village ama pahali ingine. We are not going to be fooled again. And again, I want to repeat this. Don't think that when you apologize and say all the other things you are saying, we are going to follow you kwa hiyo chimo ya wizi. We are not going to be part of that. This is the alternative, and you are working on it. I thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Derito.
Thank you. I think I'll only emphasize 3 points. The first is this question of budgeted corruption and the way in which it morphs. First, it is in the nature explained by the Honorable Kioni and the spokesperson for the 4th president, that you put figures in a vote, inflate them, or you don't disburse to the rightful person. I think you saw this previously, the controller of budget on record explaining to Kenyans that when you look at the amount put in the vote head used to pay her, you will see an amount that is several times what her annual salary is. The question is, have you another person who is also controller of budget? And that's what you're seeing. You put a figure in the benefits package of the retired president, then you don't disburse, and you wonder who then is there. The other way budgeted corruption is, of course, you make provisions that outrightly, if you examine them, you could see something is amiss. As His Excellency explained to you, the National Treasury has a very interesting development vote called strategic responses to public initiatives. What is that vote? Or is it a slush fund for senior executives?
All right, the voices of the Azimio coalition there weighing in on the budget, and of course just reacting to the Finance Bill 2024-2025, terming it as a punitive. We've seen there led by Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, just besides him Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, Honorable Kioni, also President Fred Okango, and Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna. And we'll bring you a more comprehensive report on that presser later on in our subsequent bulletins. And let's cross over to South Sudan. And South Sudan opposition leaders, of course, will give you that story as well on South Sudan once we come with the Africa Speaks at 2 p.m. among other developments. My name is Anki Doris Umbat. Remember, poor eyesight would limit your